Let's take a look at the sort command and a bunch of other commands. We've looked at a few utilities or utility commands like grep and echo, things like that. Sort is one more of these utility commands that come in very handy for doing a lot of text processing. Okay, so the basic function of sort is to sort the lines of a file alphabetically. And so it can be a file, and for now let's just stick to file. So the way we will run sort is we type sort and then the name of a file that exists and has lines that we want to sort. So it doesn't sort by words, only sort by lines. You can sort by columns, but that's a little different. We'll look at that too. So here's basically how you run sort. You say sort name of a file. This file, we don't know what the contents are beforehand. But once you run it, this is the output in sorted form. The files can have leading blanks, and those I think are considered to be smaller somehow, so when they appear at the top. One thing that I've noticed is that the way the sort is described in the book, it seems to indicate that it works sort of like sorting by default of strings in Java. That is, uppercase letters are considered to be smaller than lowercase letters, but I believe in the version of sort that we are using in our live DVD, and I think in the current version of Bash and Linux, this is not the case, that the lowercase t will come before the uppercase t. Most of the time this is not that crucial, and I don't think it's going to be a problem for anything that we do in this course. So there are some differences in the way sort works in the way it's described in the book and then the way we see it in our live DVD. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's create a file. We call this file report2. Let's try that. Oh, that's okay, but let's maybe add some more things. So let's try report2, and let's make this uppercase A, lowercase d. So that's a good one to try. And let's put some numbers to make it interesting. Let's try 1, and then some big number like 45, and let's also try 0, 1. Let's see where that will go compared to 1. Let's place it at the bottom. And let's also try 10 and 2, because these things have different meanings when compared as strings as opposed to numbers. So when you can use sort to sort numbers, but by default 10 starts with a 1, and so it will be considered smaller than 2 by default, I believe. Let's try that. Let's wait and see what happens. What other things can we use? Letters, numbers. Let's try AABC just to see if the length makes a difference. AAB, for example, AAB should come before ABC, and although the book says that AD should come before ABC, I think AAB will be first, ABC will be second, and then AD will come after that. So uppercase and lowercase letters work differently from the way they're described in the book. I think that's good. Let's try one more. 11. Alright. So we have a file called report2. Let's sort it. So once again, here are the contents. And after we sort report2, we get this. So 0, 1 comes before 1, good. 1 comes before 10, 10 comes before 11, but 10 and 11 come before 2 because they're treated as strings and not as numbers. 45 comes after 2, that's fine. So yeah, so here it is, AAB, ABC, and then the uppercase letters. So yeah, the case works differently from the way the book describes it, unfortunately. Fortunately, it's not the same as the book, but it sort of makes sense. So let's say if you wanted to sort those numbers, this is what we would use. We would use sort minus n and name of the file. Now you get the 1, you get the 0, 1 first. Yeah, that's a tricky one. I'm not sure. Sometimes you want to use 0, 1 as opposed to 1. In this case, they're about the same. 0, 1 should be the same, so I guess it picked 0, 1 to come before 1. That's fine. 1, 2, 10, 11, 45. So notice the numbers are right this time, whereas if you didn't use the minus n, things like 10 and 11 will come before 2. Okay, so there's a few things there to watch out for. You might think it's all straightforward. Sort does exactly like what you think it should do, but no. Some things are not exactly the same. So there's a bunch of different options. If you had leading blanks, that is blanks at the very start of a line, you can ignore them with the minus B option. You can use the dictionary order. You can ignore lowercase and uppercase letters. You can sort by number, by arithmetic values, that is by number. I just saw that. Just say sort minus n. You can store the output in a specified file. You can then sort in reverse order. So you can have a phone list like this, names and numbers. And then let's say this is the original list. You can sort it alphabetically, which is the default. So the A's come before the B's and so on. This part I believe does not work exactly as shown in the book. In the book, it uses I think an older version of sort, where you can say sort after the first field, that is sort based on the second field, and it works differently from cut too. Cut, remember, the fields are separated by default by tabs, and these look like tabs. Sort actually does not consider the separator to be tabs or anything. I think it's any white space character like space, tabs, any of those things are separators, and it sorts line by line. So in this case, when you say sort plus 1, that is after the first field, it takes the second name and sorts by a second name. So for example, so right here, Afzal comes before Brown, so David, in this case, comes before Bridget because it's sorting by second name, B before E, and so on. So to do this, I've set up a file. There it is. I just put in the same kind of text that we had before. Plus, I've added a second column with just numbers. And I can say sort. And I can't say plus 1, fortunately, like they do in the book. I believe you have to say minus k for field. And it can be a lot more complicated than just columns of data. There's a lot more possibilities with sort now. And we're not going to go over all of them. You can do a man sort to see all the different possibilities. So if you use the second field, oops, let me see, is that right? Minus k1, yeah, is the first field. So it works a little differently from the book than if you say minus k2. So minus k1 is the default. So it's like sorting. Doesn't make any difference if you use minus k1 or 1 or not. But minus k2 means use the second field. In this case, it'll be the 32, 102, 34, and all of that. And now you see that the 1s come before the 2s, and then the 3s, and 4s, and 5s, and 4s. So remember that by default, they are sorted as strings, not as numbers. So I think if you want to sort them as numbers, say sort minus n and then minus k2, and now you get 1, 2, 3, and the 100 comes at the end. Okay, so that's basically sort. Remember, it works a little bit differently. You don't have the pluses in the live DVD. You have to use -K. We already saw how to use the pipe character, so let's just take another look at the pipe character. We use the pipe meta character to chain commands. That is, what we do is we send the output of the command to the left as input to the command after the pipe operator. So the output of this ls-c is sent to wc word count and counts the number of words. We've done this, I believe we've done this before. If we say ls, we get that. Ls, pipe it to more, for example. One thing to note is that ls, as we saw before, by default, ls tries to put everything in a file. But then if we pipe the same output to a pager command like more, it prints it out differently. It prints it out one name per line. So if we pipe ls to word count, we can use -l and know that there's about 16 files. Looks about right. May not be exactly right, but I think that's about right. So what is this doing? We're taking the output of ls, taking that as input to word count. And word count just counts the number of lines. If you use count the number of words, we get the same thing. All right. We can take the output of ls and search for it using grep. Search for something using grep. So here what we're doing is we're taking the output of ls and searching for all files that have the string report. Let's try that. ls report. And this is useful if you have options for ls like -l. Now we see not only those files that we're looking for, but all the details of those files as well. We can run a command like who is not tremendously useful on the live DVDs, but on the servers, which I hope you guys are using, you will see your fellow classmates when you type in who. So on this live DVD, who doesn't give you a whole lot of information, just tells you that the same person is logged in a bunch of terminals, and these are the default terminals that are around. If you use, what is it, Shift, Control Alt, F1, and things like that, you will see these other terminals. And Control Alt F7 if you want to get back. So not tremendously useful on the live DVDs, but very useful if you want to see who is logged in into a server that you are also logged into. Okay, so once again, the pipe operator is on the right side of the keyboard above the enter key. It may appear on some keyboards as two smaller lines with a space right in the middle. So there'll be a small space right in the middle over here. Okay. And we can do, for example, there's no limit to the number of piped commands. You can have one command after another, and people do that in scripts a lot. That is, you take the output of one command, process it using, and these are called filters here because you're sending the command output of ls through this filter through to another command and so on. And then the output of all of these commands, for example, can be redirected to an output file. So there's no limit to the number of piped commands, and we can use it in combination with these sequence commands, the semicolon, and we can also use it in combination with output redirection to pipe all of the output of all of these commands into one single file. So try something like this. You'll see that these things will do work.